fuck, I'm so close. Fuck. I'm never gonna remember how to use a belt again. How am I supposed to go to church now? God damn it. Hi, welcome to another segment of Michael's Creepy Corner. Strap on in. Alright, I'm gonna try to keep this short and sweet. Gokudo Parasite is a supernatural comedic mystery manga that follows Shintani Mai, who is a detective in the organized crime Countermeasures Division, and her task is to try to gather intel on a local gang, Tatsygamigumi, and their boss, Shogo Mikuro. After a night of drinking and hanging out with the gang, Shogo Mikuro decides that he wants to walk home alone, where Mai is there to tail him. And while tailing him, she encounters an old man that's about to get his shit mixed in, so she steps in to stop said shit mixing, which now puts her shit in a dangerous shit mixing of itself. The Yakuza boss then steps in to stop said shit mixing and mixes the shit of the original shit mixers first, thus saving her. And for whatever reason she decides, hey, my name is Shintani Mai, I'm a detective, recognize his fucking face because you're going to be seeing it a lot more often. And right in front of her eyes, his tum-tum starts to hurt, and then he starts to shrink down to the size of an action figure. To avoid being seen by anybody from the streets or possibly his gang or his rival gang, he decides to sneak into her jacket pocket and go home with her, and from there he basically remains in hiding in her apartment. Although he does also tend to basically hide in her tits and kind of just goes with her wherever she goes. But by doing that, he's basically giving her an insider into the underworld and helps her to take down some underground casinos from a rival gang and helps her to basically catch some bad guys, all while trying to also figure out who shrunk him, how it happened, and how to reverse it. The art in this manga is really funny. They put a lot of good detail when you need to take the manga serious, and they do put a lot of over-the-top dramatic expressions when you need to basically just have fun with the manga and something goofy or silly is happening on the page. But some of the details that they put into some of these panels, you just sit there and you stare at it and you appreciate the details put into it basically. For example, there's a panel at the start of the manga where Mikiro's sitting in her living room and the dragon that's done on his back, it's super detailed and just looks really nice, and they just do a really good job just showing off the Japanese art style. Another panel that I really enjoyed was this one. The way that the blood is drawn and his bruises and just how they drew him basically just beaten up and defeated, it's really mesmerizing. Something about the blood and just the splatter and the lights and the darks on the page itself, it just captivates you. And there are a lot more panels in this manga that are like that. Now, instead of me just sitting here and showing you more panels that have the same effect, I'm going to move on to the actual writing of the story. Now, I'm going to take a wild guess here. The raws of this actual manga, the story is probably written really good, but unfortunately the translation for this manga is kind of lacking on the grammar side a lot of the times. And I'm not trying to shit talk the guy that actually did the translation for this manga. It looks like it was done by maybe one guy based off a panel where he was saying that he read all the reviews of all the complaints and he knows that the grammar is bad and he wants to fix it, but he just has no time. But in my personal opinion, some of these like incorrect or just goofy lines kind of make the manga funnier, because when it happens, it seems to just accidentally fit perfect with what's going on in the actual panel itself. So that's just a little bit of a heads up of what to expect when you read the online translations of that manga itself. And of course, if you're a otaku, a nerd, and are able to read the raws, go for it. Some of the other characters that they eventually introduce into the manga just bring certain elements that the manga itself was missing, and they do it in a very comedic fashion. Like Okawa, who is a subordinate of Mikuro, he sets out to find out if Mai has any information or knows where their boss is. And in the process of tailing her, he witnesses her doing a lot of just these like little small cute things, and then eventually just instantly falls in love with her and basically becomes a stalker. And then they introduce Takada with this fucking panel, and my god, it's a great panel. He's a handcuffed throwing detective that doesn't let his prey get away. He sees that Mai is getting all this attention in her career and her career is accelerating, and wants to marry her to basically further his career. He eventually takes Mai out on a date, but that's when you find out that he is still a virgin, he doesn't drink, he has a little bit of alcohol and gets super drunk, but almost catches Mai and Mikuro at the dinner, but basically blacks out and just forgets it all. And then a bunch of shit happens, and then he slowly starts to realize that, hey, fuck, I am in love with her. And that introduces a love triangle in the manga itself between Okawa, Takada, and Mai. And also at this point in the manga, Mai is slowly starting to develop feelings for Mikuro, and Mikuro is slowly starting to develop feelings for Mai, but yet they're hiding it from themselves and from each other. And to make things worse, they introduce Kurumi, who is a 16-year-old high school girl that has a very accurate foresight ability, depending on how tight she makes her little finger glasses, to either see several seconds into your future or up to 3 days into your future. She can only do it 5 times a day, like a fucking D&D character, before she has to take a long rest. She basically walks into their hideout with her big dick swinging and fucks over all these gang members without even laying a finger on them, and basically tells them, like, I am 16 years old, I am legally allowed to and will marry Mikuro. So now, on top of the main story of them trying to figure out who shrunk Mikuro, you take all this love triangle tomfuckery and throw it on top. And they introduce other characters that kind of keep throwing more of this love tomfuckery on top of more love tomfuckery, but the manga doesn't lose track of itself. It doesn't get overcrowded or just kind of pointless. They keep the manga and the story in track, and it all just flows and fits together. Everybody, in a weird way, is just helping each other and slowly getting closer and closer to solving the mystery. But at no point did I get lost or confused while reading this manga. Everything had its purpose and everything was there for a reason. Yeah, there was a couple times where they kind of introduced some ghosts and some aliens into the story, but I'm not going to go into detail on those. That is definitely something you need to read and find out that mystery for yourself. And for all you gentlemen out there, don't worry, there is fan service in this manga. And oh boy, she thick! Very early on to the manga, they show off the milk truck in a nice, subtle shower scene. And then later on, while she's trying to get ready for the date. And then again, Mikuro basically rips her tit out and uses it as a distraction to infiltrate a gang place. I don't even know what the fuck they're trying to infiltrate. I was distracted by a goddamn titty. And funny enough, when they have the looking up under their skirt camera angle of the panties, those panels are beautifully drawn and really good. It's like they do it on purpose so that if somebody walks in as you're staring at the panties and they say, what the fuck are you looking at? You say, oh, I'm just looking at the beautiful detail of the background of this panel, not at her vagina. Oh, what do you think I am, sir? A fucking creep? But also don't forget that one of them is 16 years old. And also, don't worry, there isn't just pages filled with tits. There's really actually not a lot of tits in this manga. When they have the tits, it's nice. But I do appreciate that they don't overcrowd the manga with tits, because eventually having so much tits in a manga, it just starts to feel like they're putting the tits in there just to have tits. And it kind of gets old really fast. But at least this is very tasteful tits that they introduce into the manga. Like, for example, a Yakuza boss is in a strip club. So yeah, you see the stripper's titties for like a panel. But that's it. There are no sex scenes in this movie. Manga, fuck, I'm watching too much hentai, god damn it. There are no sex scenes in this manga. There are no over-the-top bloody violent scenes, no gore. There's very subtle blood, but there's enough action that it keeps the story interesting and going. And it's done in a way that, even though all this shit is going on, and it's going on in a pretty funny comedic fashion, they do every once in a while introduce a pretty serious tone to the manga that kind of reminds you of the main story, and you want to keep reading because you want to find out how it happened and who did it and what happens to these characters and their love pentagon. I don't know what the fuck shape it is anymore at this point. But to finish it off, I highly recommend this manga for everybody, even if you are a beginner that's just getting into manga, or if you're a seasoned vet that can't go to sleep without waking up screaming, "No, not the tentacles!" You will enjoy this manga. It is a fun ride. Just give it a try, I promise.